Okay, what if I told you that some of our planet's biggest puzzles, things like the ice ages and why our magnetic poles wander all over the place, what if they weren't separate mysteries at all? Today we're going to dig into one pretty provocative source that says there's a single, unifying, cosmic force behind the whole shebang.
So let's start with the big one. What really causes Earth's ice ages? For decades, scientists have been trying to crack this. We can see it right there in the ice core data. Bam! Earth gets plunged into an ice age just about every 100,000 years. But the why? Well, that's still a huge scientific puzzle.
Now, the leading theory is something called Milankovitch cycles, and the idea is pretty straightforward. Small, predictable wobbles in Earth's orbit and tilt change how much sunlight we get, and that triggers climate shifts. Makes sense, right? But here's the problem. According to the source material we're looking at, the 100,000-year cycle, the big one, actually lines up with the weakest of these orbital changes. So, how can the tiniest, most subtle cause produce the absolute biggest effect? It feels like a paradox, and that's exactly where this alternative theory kicks off.
To even begin to build its case, the source we're exploring has to introduce a really fundamental concept, something it claims modern physics has just completely missed.
It's called the charge field. The author says this is a real physical field. It's made of photons and their antimatter twins, antiphotons, and they are constantly streaming out from every star, every planet, everything. In this model, it's not really gravity that's the main force moving things around in the universe. It's this charge field. This idea is the bedrock for everything else we're about to talk about.
So here's the crucial takeaway. According to this framework, if we want to solve Earth's biggest puzzles, we have to stop looking just in our own backyard, our own solar system. We have to look outward, to the galaxy itself. The argument is that these powerful forces from the galactic core are constantly flowing toward us, and they're traveling on this invisible highway, this charge field.
Okay, so how does this new charge field idea actually try to solve the puzzle? Let's bring it back to the main event, cracking the code of the 100,000-year ice age cycle.
To really get this, you have to think in cycles, big cosmic cycles. I mean, our whole solar system takes about 240 million years just to make one lap around the galaxy. Within that huge time frame, we see that steady 100,000-year ice age drumbeat. But the source points out an even smaller signal buried in the data, a little warming peak that shows up like clockwork every 11,500 years.
And to explain how this works, the author gives us a really simple analogy. Just picture two spinning CDs. Imagine holding one of them perfectly flat. That's the plane of our galaxy. Now, the other CD is our solar system, but it's not flat. It's tilted at a sharp 60-degree angle compared to the galaxy. So here's the mechanism this theory proposes. The sun's poles are like giant intake valves sucking in this galactic charge. But because our whole solar system is tilted, those poles only line up perfectly with that incoming charge stream at a very specific point in our cosmic wobble. And guess what? That perfect alignment happens every 11,500 years. When it does, a massive flood of charge rushes in and supercharges the sun, causing those little warming peaks we see on Earth.
Okay, but hang on. That only explains the little 11,500-year warming blips. What about the massive 100,000-year cycle that ends an entire ice age? Well, for that, the theory says we need to look at another major player in our solar system, Jupiter.
This is the number we have to explain. 100,000 years. We're not talking about a little blip of warmth anymore. We're talking about a full-scale interglacial period, the kind of warm age we're living in right now, where those giant, continent-sized ice sheets actually melt away.
So the argument goes like this. Jupiter is so huge that in this charge system, it acts almost like a little mini-star. And critically, Jupiter's own orbit has a slight tilt. This creates another, much longer-term wobble on top of the main one. So what's the result? Well, it means that only about 1 out of every 9 of those 11,500-year alignments is actually perfect. A moment when Jupiter is also in just the right spot to amplify that galactic charge. And that rare, perfect alignment, that's what triggers a massive warming event, a true interglacial, roughly every 100,000 years. Now, this is where the theory gets really ambitious. The author takes these exact same cosmic mechanics and uses them to try and explain a completely different mystery, why Earth's magnetic poles wander.
We've known for a long time that the magnetic North Pole doesn't just sit still. It drifts around, sometimes slowly, sometimes fast, making these long, looping patterns across the Arctic. But what's actually pushing it around? Okay, so mainstream science has some ideas. The short-term loops, probably caused by the chaotic swirling of molten iron deep in Earth's core. The longer drift, maybe it's affected by things like melting ice sheets changing the planet's balance. But this source, it offers a completely external explanation. It claims the short loops are caused by the shifting push and pull of charge from the giant planets, especially Jupiter. And that long, slow drift, that's caused by our entire solar system moving through space relative to the galactic core.
So get this. In this view, the wandering poles have absolutely nothing to do with what's happening inside our planet or with our climate. Nope, it's just another symptom, another visible effect of those same celestial charge dynamics. Earth is just reacting, being pushed and pulled by the charge coming from the sun, the planets, and the galaxy itself.
Ultimately, everything we've talked about, it all boils down to one single overarching idea, that we are fundamentally plugged into the galaxy in ways we haven't even begun to recognize.
And the author of this theory, Mathis, he puts it very bluntly. This quote really captures his whole perspective, that because we haven't recognized this galactic input and the charge field, our entire understanding of how the cosmos works is basically incomplete, like we're still in the mechanical dark ages.
So let's just do a quick recap of the core claims from this source. First, there's a universal charge field that's the real engine of the universe. Second, our solar system is basically plugged into the galaxy, and that's what drives our major cycles. Third, specific alignments between us and the galaxy dictate patterns like the ice ages, with planets like Jupiter acting as key players. And finally, a lot of what we think of as Earth's own processes, like our climate or the poles moving, are really just the effects of these much bigger external forces.
Look, it's a radical, sweeping theory for sure. It's one that tries to tie a bunch of totally separate, planet-sized mysteries together with one single thread. It challenges us to look way beyond our own planet, even beyond our own sun, to find the real clockwork that governs Earth's incredibly long and complicated history. And really, it leaves us with one heck of a question to think about.